Welcome back to the video lecture series for Introduction to the Art of Programming using Scala. In this video we continue working with XML and seeing how we can use it in Scala. So in the last video we took our code to the point where we could read in our XML data file. Let's go look at our data file. Read in this file, and we read it into an array of case classes. And the idea is that we should have a number of options that the user can do that will allow them to add grades to students or add students into the class or whatever it is that we would want. We could either write this menu driven or we could write this as a GUI. But once they're done with it, they need to save back off the data into stored XML. So we want to see how we can do that in Scala. And so there's two parts to this. One is the saving itself, and it turns out that part is the easy part. If we look in the XML object, we saw and used load file earlier. There is a save option where you give it a file name and a node, and all of the other options are optional in the sense that they have values for you. And we're supposed to pass it an XML node. Okay, this is what we're writing out to that file. So for the saving, after we had done whatever changes we would want to do, it would be xml.save, and I'm going to call it grades2.xml so that we can tell that it is distinctly different, from before. And now we somehow need to build a node out of all of these students. Now the node itself, notice this isn't supposed to be a sequence of them, this is just one, because an XML file only has one node, one element at the top, and so it needs to be the grades element, and which of course we can type directly into our Scala code. And then inside of here, we would need to somehow convert all of the student data into XML. Now I showed you previously that we can type stuff directly in. We can type XML directly into Scala. However, that was all literals. In other words, that it didn't do any processing, it didn't take it from data. So in order to get Scala code to generate stuff to put inside of the XML, we have to put it inside of curly braces. And so what I'm going to do here is I want to run through all of the students, and I want to map them onto we're going to write let's make a student to XML function. And we can write that up here. Def student to XML. And this is supposed to take a student, we'll just call it S here, and it's supposed to return to us an XML node. Now, of course, what a student node looks like is it starts with student and it ends with /student. So I'll go ahead and in here put student /student, and the student is supposed to have a name. Well, just like before, I put this inside of curly braces, and it's s.name. Okay. What the Scala compiler is really doing here is it's going back and forth between an XML parsing mode and a Scala parsing mode. So once it sees this less than symbol here, and it says, oh, hey, you're typing in some XML, this is an element, when that goes into the XML mode. When it sees a curly brace, it jumps out of the XML mode and back to the Scala mode and parses whatever you have inside of there. And then once it closes the curly brace, it goes back to the XML mode. And these can be nested however you want. So you can go into XML mode and back out to Scala mode, and then inside of that Scala code you can produce more XML, which technically we're doing here because this code right here makes a call up to this, which jumps back into XML mode. And then inside of here it jumps back into Scala mode. Inside of each one of these students, so we set the name, we also need to put in code that will read all of the assignments, or that will write out all of the different grades that we have. So s.quizzes.map, and just like we did before, it will be helpful to write a function that converts one of our grade objects into XML. Earlier, when our toStudent used a function that we wrote called toGrade, so student XML is going to use grade to XML, and it's going to take a grade object called D and return a node to us. We'll come back and we'll write that in just a second. Tests. Now, this is a little bit problematic here. The way that I've encoded this, all of these right now are, well, to understand the problem, let's come up to here. And, well, now I run into the problem. What do I type here? So if this were a quiz, I would type in quiz and say value equals g dot value slash quiz. And the problem here, well, so okay, so the problem here is, what if this isn't a quiz? What if this is some other type of node? And at this point, there is a question of, it might make my life easier if I changed my format over here so that all of these were a grade and the quiz, test, assignment were an attribute in there. Otherwise, when I call grade to XML, I have to pass in information so that it knows which one to do. I'm going to go with that latter solution for right now. And in order to make that work, I'm not going to use the simple notation. So in, comma, I'll use a string for, no, there we go. In, comma, test. And I have to admit, there's a part of me that is not 100% happy with how I'm doing this right here. But given what you know, this might be about the best that we can do. I'm going to match my type and have different cases. So there is a case for quiz, in which case I return this. There's a case for test. And there is a case for assignment. Okay, I just want to see if that will run, how many typos I have. It is not complete. Line 22. Error identify under, oh, type is a keyword in Scala, so I'm just going to go with T there. And there we go, we have some errors. Actually, these errors are known errors. The message for them is very challenging to figure out what the heck's going on, though. It says error, overloaded method constructor, unprefixed attribute with alternatives, blah blah blah. Yeah, this error message might not make much sense, but it's giving it to us on our quiz and on the test and on the assignments. And the reason is because when you set an attribute value, the thing that you pass into here has to be a string. So I need to call toString on those ints. Odds are good that at some point, if you're writing out much XML, you will forget this step and you will get this horrible message, and hopefully just the fact that the message is that horrible will jog your memory as to what's going on there. Okay, line 47, not found value grades. Okay. Now we should be able to look. So previously we didn't have a grades 2, now we do, and this is what it looks like. Notice that it doesn't have any comments, because that's the one thing that we haven't included. Now technically I didn't include in the case class the reading the one comment that I had associated with the student, so unless I put that in the code we're going to lose that. But each one of these, the quiz, the test, and the assignment, needs to have the code that will return something based upon whether or not we have a comment in here. And as I'm typing this, I realize, you know what, I have never tried to put something based off of an option. So I need to go into the Scala mode, definitely. And I'm pretty sure that the problem I'm going to run into here is one dealing with, so g dot comment match case sum C. I want to output comment C slash comment. And the problem is, what do I do in the case of none? I need to return something. Scala is not going to like me if I don't. I can see what happens with the empty string, and I expect that will actually be a type error before I copy and paste this. We can illegal start of simple pattern. Oh, sorry. I've been working with students programming Haskell recently. In Haskell, those parentheses would not be there. Okay, well that ran. Let's go look at what happens on grades 2. Now, oh, here we go. This quiz actually has a comment on it, and it looks correct. Something that you might have noticed earlier with running these things. So notice this is the 4 or the 3, and it uses the ampersand, GT, and 4. If you look what it prints out, though, it actually uses the greater than. So Scala is doing the work of converting those things for you. Now I could comment or copy these 4 lines and paste, paste, paste. Instead of doing that, because I really hate copying code like that, def make comments. Sure. It's going to return. What is? Oh, that I'm fine. For td paste. I can get rid of that. Shift J that to pull it up there. And then inside of here I can call make comments. YY paste, paste, save. Let's see if we're good with that? Apparently not. Case assignment, what did I mess up? It's clearly inside of the make comments. Oh, I see why. I decided to make it so this whole thing was a match, and I can't do that if I'm going to do this. Okay. And there we go. And if I less our XML file, we have a comment for the test on the first student and a comment for the quiz on John Doe. We've lost the actual XML comment that was in here. We've also lost the comment that was on the student because we did not include code to make it so that students have comments associated with them. You could do that in the same way that we did here, make it so that it's an option string, but I didn't choose to do that, and it should be easy enough for you to extend what you've seen here to be able to do that. So that kind of gives you a basic idea of how to use XML in your code, how to load in XML and pull out the values and put them into case classes that then you could use inside of here. So if we had written previously a grading program that used flat text files, all of the logic of the grading program would have been exactly the same. We would have just had to change the stuff that wrote out to a flat text file to do what we did here, so it writes it out to an XML file, and then the loading code would have to change to this loading code so that it pulls things in. But by doing this, we get a lot of flexibility. We get the ability to have data that is easily transportable to other programs and that kind of shows you the meaning that's in there. The files are going to be a little bit larger because XML is not a very brief way of writing your data out, but it's highly transportable and it's very informative, and there are lots of places that use it, so it's definitely useful for you. I hit an A there, to be able to work with it. So that's it for now, and we'll see you again soon.